अस्करी साहब हुकूमत पाकिस्तान के साथ वो पाकिस्तान के आइडेंटिटी के ऊपर काम कर रहे थे, कल्चरल आइडेंटिटी पे, जिसमें मंटो गॉट इन्वॉल्व्ड विद दैट. सो पीपल लाइक अहमदुद्दीन कासमी ने उनको खत लिख दिया, ओपन लेटर, कि आप हाँ आपने ये क्यों इतने रिग्रेसिव बंदे के साथ इतना, मतलब ही इज अ रिएक्शनरी. उसके बाद अली सरदार जाफरी के भी बेइंतहा मतलब खत आते रहे कि आप मत करें. उसके बाद मतलब जब वो नहीं माने और उन्होंने क्या हाशिए छाप दिए विद अस्करी इंट्रोडक्शन, उसके बाद प्रोग्रेसिव राइटर्स ने इनको वही कहानी जिसकी तारीफ की गई है और एविडेंस है, वो कहानी बुरी हो जाती थी. तो ये पार्टी बात ही वाज बैन्ड फ्रॉम पब्लिशिंग इन प्रोग्रेसिव जर्नल्स. हुकूमत कहती थी कि ये सुर्खा है. He was a progressive said he was a reactionary, so he found solace in one thing, and that was alcohol. So he drank his gun. And he wrote these letters asking Uncle Sam to send him some good scotch, and not so that he wouldn't die of the local brew, which was killing him. तो बताओ तो पिटी और पार्टीशन तो यही थी ना.
यही थी. और ये
मतलब he was a successful writer, छोड़ के वो आ गए यहाँ पे अपने खानदान के लिए, अपनी बेटियों का. I'm happy to see कि तीनों बैठी हुई हैं यहाँ पर. और sorry, speak in English, of course. That's easier for me. I thought I was asked to speak in Urdu. Well, I mean, all I can say is that we talk about Manto's alcoholism, but I think it needs to be pointed out that Manto never wrote under the spell. In fact, that was his saving grace. He may have written one or two, but those would be the inferior stories. All the best stories were written when he was stone cold sober, and I think that's something that needs to be underscored. The other thing I want to say is that it was this denial on and the lack of recognition. One of the things that he constantly harps about in the post-colonial movement is कि मुझे इस मुल्क में अपनी जगह नहीं थी, मुझे समझ नहीं आई. कभी कहते हैं कि मैं इस मुल्क का सबसे अच्छा शॉर्ट स्टोरी राइटर हूँ, और कभी मुझे कहते हैं कि घर से निकल जाओ क्योंकि तुम गैर सुन्नी इंसान, you're not an important person, throw you out. So he found he was frustrated. He certainly did not get recognition in his lifetime. And I think that has been the way he was treated and the way we have treated artists, writers in this country. I think Manto in that sense it encapsulates it all for us. The post-colonial movement is with us because Manto has made it possible. I mean, his own life is an example of what is lacking.
Absolutely. A writer was saying, a Pakistani writer was saying to me on a stage somewhere not so long ago, there was a discussion about literature and Manto's name came up. और उन्होंने कहा कि जो चीज़ें मंटो साहब उस दौर में लिख गए, छाप गए, उनको एक कीमत ज़रूर चुकानी पड़ी, मगर अगर आज वो चीज़ें लिख रहे होते तो वो एक हफ्ता भी कोई उनको अपने घर में रहने देता. यानी कि हुकूमत को छोड़िए, अदीबों को छोड़िए, वो तो झगड़े होते ही हैं.
Let me sort of say that we all know that Manto faced obscenity charges 3 times in the colonial period, twice in the post-colonial period. But I don't want to emphasize that while it was the same law, and that's one of the things that he's confused about in the post-colonial movement is that nothing has changed. We've become free, but are we free really from our worst instincts is his question. I mean, the obscenity law is the same. But one thing that is frequently forgotten is that although he was charged under obscenity laws by the colonial and the post-colonial state, he was acquitted. In other words, in today's Pakistan, that would never be possible. So I think that we must understand that what the post-colonial movement tells you is that even under a draconian colonial law, the judges in the district high courts of Lahore, where he spent a lot of time, poor chap, were actually liberal enough to acquit him.
Yes.
So I think that's something we can't forget, and because we assume that the moment Pakistan, and this is a great favorite narrative of certain people across the border, that Pakistan is inevitably was doomed to be what it is today. Not that we have made choices and to taken the wrong turns, or rather our leaders have taken the wrong turns when they had a choice not to, but that because it was created, it was doomed to be like this. I think Manto reminds us, and his life reminds us, that we did have individuals who did not think that Manto obscenity, that he was really sort of writing this new literature, something that would not happen anymore in today's context.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. I think we should maybe open it up to questions now from the audience. Thank you very much. Raise your hand if you want to ask a question. A mic will come to you. There's a question there, right there.
Hello. Thank you, ma'am, for the fantastic talk. Thank you, Ali, for organizing such a fantastic session. Ma'am, my question to you is that Manto, as you mentioned, was never really recognized in his lifetime. And we see that condition with a lot of intellectuals. So we have, for example, Bulleh Shah, who was never recognized during his lifetime. And we have Ghazali, who was never recognized in his lifetime. And now they're big celebrities. And a lot of time what really happens is that people, the particular group, who sort of criticizes them, ends up owning them after their lifetime. So why does that really happen? Can you talk about that briefly?
The word was just generally sort of, it's opportunism. I think Manto was recognized as a upcoming screenplay writer. He was certainly not completely in the dark. But I do think that in Pakistan, because of the absence of the cultural scene, the ambiance, and his fights with the progressive, or his misunderstandings with the progressives, or the lack of support. But I think that it's not unusual, it's not just Pakistan's problem that we recognize people when they pass away. But the value of literature is that if the literature really is true to its source, then it lives. And I think Manto will live on. As he said, that he feared that Sadat Hassan might die. But the fact of the matter is that Manto still lives on. He was afraid that Sadat Hassan might die, but Manto will live on. But I think that has happened, that Manto continues to live on. And that's not unusual with others. But I think in today's context where there's media, the electronic media, the times have changed. And as a result, I think people do get a lot more visibility in their lifetime. It's not clear to me that their literature will survive 100 years down the line. And I think we can say that for Manto, that today we're celebrating, these two books are partly his 100th birth anniversary. And he is stronger than ever. And in fact, his audiences are growing in the West, as well as in the world, internationally, not just in the subcontinent.
There's a question there.
If you define Manto in one word or phrase, what would it be?
Genius.
The context seems to be political, but my question is literary one. It keeps haunting me that I find certain similarities between Guy Mossa and Manto Saab. There is no denial of the greatness of Manto Saab. But what about these similarities between Mossa and Manto Saab?
Yeah, I've written about it, and we all know that Manto Saab called Maupassant the father of short story writing. The god, rather, sorry, of short story writing. But the thing that I would say to you is that he didn't consciously try to imitate Maupassant, but he did read Maupassant and translated him. But what he did do was to write about social issues in a manner that were very similar to Maupassant. Again, Hassan Askari is one of the best, has the best comment on Manto Saab and Maupassant. That Maupassant was a product of a context where the literary tradition had advanced so much that he could really experiment a lot more. Manto had to dig his own wells, and so it's the state of the old language development, and what Manto achieved there is quite extraordinary. So that's how I would put it.
That's very good. जी, कौन आपके पास है? इधर है।
I just wanted you to talk a bit about your comment about this increasing tendency both in India and Pakistan, whereby we seem to be falling prey to this deterministic attitude that we were bound to become what we have become now. In the context of your own work and Manto's work that you sort of worked on this in this particular book, ये जो मायूसी की एक कैफियत है जिसकी वजह से आई थिंक बहुत से लोग यहाँ पर भी इस चीज़ को मानने को तैयार हैं कि शायद ऐसा हुआ, और कुछ मंटो साहब की तहरीरों में भी ये चीज़ मिलती है कि शायद पाकिस्तान इस तरह का बन जाएगा जैसा अब है। इस पर कुछ थोड़ा सा बात कीजिए।
देखिए, determinism is a product of an ahistorical understanding of things. It's, in my view, a product of a very presentist understanding of life in Pakistan. I think one of the causes of depression in Pakistan stems from the fact that you are very presentist. There is no dimension of history. History is seen as academic and at best boring. I think Pakistanis need to really get out of that mental mind about history. You don't know what history is. History is methodology. It's not about numbers. It's not about ideologies. History is about knowing how things have changed and how they always change. When you read history, history gives you hope. History is and as does literature, especially when they come together. And in Manto, I've been able to do that. I mean, so while he is a very sort of sharp critic of the post-colonial movement and many other movements that I've discussed, including partition, he also gives you hope in human nature. I mean, one of the most extraordinary things about his writing is precisely that even the worst sort of human being has some goodness in it. So I think that loss of hope is a product of what we eat is what we are. So I think that if you are going to disown history, disband all thinking, and only think about being a news-driven person and be alarmist all the time, then yes, you will be depressed.